Okay, we've all sat through employee training, right? But have you ever stopped to think if it's just a corporate checkbox or if it's something much bigger? Well, today, we're diving into the research to find out. And what we found is this incredible ripple effect, one that starts with just a single employee and actually ends up shaping entire economies. It's pretty amazing.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll kick things off with a pretty staggering number that really sets the stage. Then, we'll follow those ripples of impact, from individuals to their companies, and finally, to society at large. After that, we'll get practical and talk about how to get the most out of training before we wrap it all up.
All right, let's jump right in. To really get what's at stake here, you have to understand the sheer scale of what we're talking about. It's a mind-boggling amount of money. And the big question is it one of the smartest things a company can do, or is it just cash flying out the window?
There it is, $126 billion. That is what organizations in the US spend on employee training and development every single year. I mean, that's just a colossal figure. It's bigger than the entire economy of a lot of countries. And when you're spending that kind of money, you really have to be sure it's doing something, right?
So, this is the core question we're digging into. With all those billions on the table, is it paying off? Or is it a massive waste of resources? Well, the research gives us a surprisingly clear answer. And that whole story begins at the smallest, most personal level. So, where does this $126 billion journey even begin? It all starts with that first ripple, the direct impact training has on you, me, and the teams we work with. This is where the learning happens. This is where skills are built, and it's really the foundation for everything that comes next. First off, let's just make sure we're on the same page. What do we even mean by training? Because it's not just about memorizing some facts. The research defines it as a systematic approach to improving knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And that word, systematic, that's the key. It means it's not random. It's all aimed at one thing, making people, teams, and the whole organization better.
Now check this out. This quote perfectly captures the kind of subtle magic of good training. It comes from a study of mechanics in northern India. Through their on-the-job training, they didn't just learn technical steps. They developed an intuitive feel for the work. This good feeling meant they could do these incredibly complex repairs that most shops in developed countries wouldn't even touch. It's a skill you can't just write down in a textbook.
And you know what? That good feeling actually has a name. It's called tacit skills. These are the powerful, almost subconscious abilities we get from experience and just doing the work. It's not just knowing what to do, but how and when to do it almost by instinct. And great training is fantastic at building these exact skills, which are absolutely crucial for top-tier performance. And that story about the mechanic? That's not just a nice little anecdote. It's part of a much bigger pattern, a massive meta-analysis. That's a study of studies, over 165 of them, put a hard number on the impact of training. They found an effect size, what they call D, of 0.62. So, what does that mean? Well, in social science, anything over 0.5 is considered a large effect. This is stone-cold proof that training has a strong, consistent, and really positive impact on how well people do their jobs. It's not a guess, it's a statistical fact. And the benefits just keep coming. The research shows concrete gains all over the place. Salespeople get better at managing themselves. Leaders learn how to truly motivate their people. In really high-stakes fields like aviation, better team coordination literally saves lives. It even helps people succeed on tough assignments overseas. So yeah, this first ripple is both super deep and super wide. Okay, so let's see how this thing builds. If that first ripple transforms individual people, the second ripple is what happens when all those improvements start adding up. This is where the impact scales up to the entire organization, and it starts moving the numbers that every single leader cares about.
And the evidence for this is it's overwhelming. Study after study shows a direct line between how much a company invests in its people and how well it performs. We're talking about the big three you see here: higher profits, being more effective, and better productivity. The link is totally clear.
So how does this actually play out? Well, the research points to a few key things. Training leads to higher sales and fewer expensive mistakes. It helps you keep your best people. One study even found that tuition reimbursement programs totally slash turnover. It improves service, which means you get happier customers, and it builds your reputation. I mean, just think about the US Navy SEALs. Their entire legend is built on a reputation for elite training.
So we've seen the impact on individuals and on their companies. But believe it or not, the ripple effect doesn't stop there. The third and widest ripple actually expands to touch all of us,
shaping the economic health and well-being of entire countries.
To get this, we have to talk about an idea from economics called human capital. Put simply, it's the collective skill and knowledge of a country's entire workforce. And the research here is crystal clear. Human capital is one of the main engines of economic growth. So how do you build it? Through education and, yeah, you guessed it, training.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. Countries all over the world get this and have made training part of their national policy. Way back in '85, India became the first in its region to create a Ministry of Human Resource Development because they saw it as vital for progress. Then in the '90s, Poland strategically used training to totally reshape its workforce and successfully switch from a Soviet-style economy to a modern market economy. And right now, the UK's Investors in People program is helping companies succeed by developing their workforce.
Okay, so the evidence is in. Training delivers huge value at every level, which of course leads to the next big question. How do we get the most bang for that $126 billion buck? How do we make training not just good, but great? Turns out, the research actually gives us a really clear, actionable playbook.
And it all boils down to these 4 critical steps. First, do a needs assessment. You got to figure out what people actually need to learn. Second, design the training smartly, using principles that are proven to work. Third, evaluate. Did it actually make a difference? And finally, and this is the one so many companies get wrong, you have to ensure transfer. That means making sure the new skills don't just stay in the classroom, but they get used on the job.
Now let's look at one design principle that is so powerful because it kind of goes against everything we think we know. It's called error management. See, traditional training tries to stop you from making mistakes, but this research-backed approach does the opposite. It actually encourages you to mess up. Why on earth would you do that? Because struggling with a problem, making mistakes, and then learning from them builds a much deeper, more adaptable skill set. A huge meta-analysis confirmed it. This approach is way more effective, especially for solving new, unexpected problems.
So, we've followed the ripples all the way from the individual to society, and we've seen how to make those ripples as powerful as possible. So after all of that, what's the one big takeaway from all this research?
It really all comes down to this. The most successful companies on the planet have made a fundamental mental shift. They've stopped looking at training as a cost on a spreadsheet. They see it for what it truly is, a strategic investment in their most valuable asset, their people. An investment that creates that incredible cascading ripple effect, building a competitive advantage that's almost impossible for anyone else to copy.
And that really leaves us with one last question for you to think about. In your own workplace, is training just something that's offered to check a box, or is it being used strategically to build human capital? Because as we've seen today, that's the difference between a simple expense and a truly transformative investment.